Ever since Boris Johnson became our new Prime Minister, he's decided to shift the focus in terms of policy onto tackling crime and bringing back stop and search properly to make sure this is happening. Now, not everyone has been happy about this. The loony left, especially from the Labour Party and other parties like Plaid Cymru, have been kicking off, including Diane Wood. Diane Wood tweeted, "Stop and search was stopped because it was in Wales, we already have high proportion of people in prison from minority ethnic backgrounds as well as from our poorest communities. More stop and search and more prison places will make this worse." Firstly, Diane should understand that just because the majority of people who end up being arrested and happen to be are from ethnic minority backgrounds doesn't mean it's racist. For example, in 2017, 2/3 of young people under the age of 25 who were arrested because of stop and search happen to be from ethnic minority backgrounds. Doesn't mean it's racist. It just means certain people from those backgrounds do commit more crimes. It also means certain people from the same backgrounds are also the victims. But before we start talking about the hypocrisy of the crazy left-wing politicians and activists like Diane Wood, let's see if the policy of stop and search actually works or not. So we looked at the fact-check website to see how successful this police tactic has actually been. The evidence suggests that the police are now more likely to stop and search people who were then found to be committing a crime than they were in 2010 anyway. In fact, the latest figures we have now show that the year to March 2017 features the highest rate of police stops leading to an arrest since the data was first collected. In 2010, 9% of police stops resulted in an arrest. Now it's 17%. When it comes to arrests specifically for the possession of firearms and other offensive weapons, the rate is even higher. Last year, about 20% of police stops regarding possessions were suspected result in an arrest anyway. In 2010, the rate was half that. So the evidence shows that it does work, and firstly, it's got nothing to do with if it's evidence-based and targeted, and we're not just talking about the London communities, because obviously in certain communities in London, East London, South London, yes, we have a huge population of ethnic minorities. I'm from a council estate in South East London and I saw it firsthand and the effects of it. But when you look at across the country and smaller towns, then we still have some issues with crime and gangs. They're white. They're not from any certain ethnic minorities. So we have to tackle this regardless of looking at it from some sort of emotional, irrational perspective. But this is why the hypocrites on the left don't actually care about evidence-based policy. Apart from Diane Wood, we also have people like Diane Abbott, someone who's in charge of essentially, if they get into government, she'll be in charge of Home Office. She once said that she was actually in favour of stop and search, and then she said she's not.
The Metropolitan Police Commissioner says that she's in favour of stop and search as a means of getting those weapons out of circulation. Does she back that call as well?
Absolutely. I've always argued that evidence-based stop and search has a very important role to play. Targeted, evidence-based stop and search is something that members on this side of the House would fully support. To look at the figures, to do the research, including the Home Office's own research, which shows in the medium term, stop and search does not bring down levels of... It's an easy solution, it's attractive, but the stats tell us that we have to engage on a much broader level. I've always argued that evidence-based stop and search has a very important role to play.
But at the end of the day, ordinary people out there don't really care and don't think like the way Diane Abbott or Diane Wood thinks. We have the recent polls that shows that the majority of public are in favour of the policy and Boris's approach. For example, 74% of general population are in favour of the policy, 61% of Labour voters, 61% of Lib Dem voters and 93% of Conservative voters are in favour. So the choice is yours. As the general public, as the voters who elect you hire and fire politicians, would you rather have a policy that's been proposed by Boris Johnson, 20,000 more police officers on the street, bringing back evidence-based stop and search and targeted way of policing in London and across the country? Or do you want the loony left and Diane Abbott being in charge of Home Office and see the crime going up and up?